Morning Cowboys, I'm Ryan and I'll be your host this morning. Coming up on today's show, we have a look into the student care text line and a much needed feature on one of our very own Canyon teachers. Today's Friday, January 29th, and Canyon News Network starts right now. Welcome back. To start off, let's talk about a few clubs with deadlines and meetings today. Students, if you have over a 3.6 GPA and would like to be part of the California Scholarship Federation, applications are due tonight at 11:59 p.m. The application can be found in the CSF Google Classroom, which you can join by using the code WDZRU2Q. Big Hearts for Little Ones is also meeting at 1 p.m. The link will be posted in Google Classroom. Speaking of deadlines, the Canyon Country Optimist Club is hosting an essay contest where one Canyon Country student can win a $2,500 scholarship. Make sure to reach out to your English teachers for help. The entry essay is due February 14th. Now for our first feature today, we're heading over to Frank and Chris, who sat down with one Canyon senior who competes outside of school.
Come on down, Pacific Northwest.
Over the years, Canyon has always had very talented students. One of those students is a track star and an outstanding student on campus. But Jordan Thompson also has some very unique talents outside of school.
So usually it consists of 3 different stages: interview, fun fashion, and gown. Interview, you walk into a room with like 5 judges and it's like 5 minutes long, and they can ask you any questions that they want about yourself or about community service or about problems going on in the world. And for me, it's like the most nerve-wracking part. And then gown and fun fashion, you get to pick any outfit that you want, and then you go on stage and you just have fun.
Jordan is in a very unique profession, but this isn't exactly something new for her.
So when I was younger, I was watching a local state pageant and I was like, oh, I want to do that. So my mom put me in a pageant and I was like, oh, I love this. And I took a break when I got older because I wanted to focus on school and sports. And then like 3 years ago, I would say, I heard about a pageant that was going to be like 30 minutes away, and I signed up and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do this for fun. And I ended up getting first runner up and it kind of got me hooked on it. So
With Jordan being in such a unique situation with school and pageants, Jordan must adjust and overcome to the situation to find time for practices and pageants.
balancing school and pageants is really all about time management. Personally, I make a list in the morning and I'm like, from this time to this time, I'm working on schoolwork and only schoolwork. And then from this time to this time, I'm working on preparing for my next pageant.
In recent times, COVID has truly affected all facets of life, including Jordan and her pageants.
Pageant-wise, COVID's affected making relationships with the girls because they have us socially distanced and 6 feet apart all the time, and you don't really get to meet them or talk to them as much as you would pre-COVID. And it kind of forces you to adapt community service-wise because you don't get to go into these classrooms and make presentations about anti-bullying. So you really have to be creative and come up with different ways to still make an impact, but also being COVID safe.
It is not easy doing what Jordan does, but with her talent and commitment, that makes her a very talented Canyon student. And hopefully we can hear some more good news about her in the future. Reporting for Canyon News Network, this is Christopher Renteria. Now back to you.
Thanks guys. Speaking of seniors, if you have not received your senior shirt, make sure to order one through the Canyon website under Students and Student Store. If you have any questions, make sure to contact ASB at caasb@heartdistrict.org. The deadline for ordering is February 5th, so make sure to place your order soon. Just this past week, Governor Newsom lifted the California stay-at-home order, but just because it is lifted does not mean that we should not practice caution. Let's send it over to Marissa for more on the do's and don'ts when it comes to masks.
The CDC declared at the beginning of this pandemic that wearing a mask is our best defense against COVID-19. Here's our countdown to which masks are most effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19, as well as some other perks. Our information was gathered from reputable research groups such as the American Medical Association and more. Of course, a facial covering is better than not wearing one at all. However, DIY bandana masks and neck gaiters should be avoided for their ineffective functionality. The material of these facial coverings is often too loose and thin to offer any protection. Additionally, face shields offer little protection when used in place of a mask. Your next best option would be a tightly woven 100% cotton mask. Cloth masks block 50 to 70% of fine droplets and particles because on a microscopic level, the organic fibers in this material offer a more structural support than synthetic fibers. For my friends who struggle with acne and other sensitive skin conditions, a multi-layered silk mask would be beneficial. Silk is known for its properties that reduce friction on the skin. It also repels moisture droplets and can be the most comfortable and breathable option with reduced fabric wetting. Next on our list is the widely known N95 mask. Now, although these masks are proven to be most effective, this form of personal protective equipment should be reserved for medical personnel first and foremost. Your next best option would be a 3-layer disposable surgical mask. These masks are widely available to the general public and are very effective in stopping the spread of saliva particles. The most important thing is you get a well-fitted mask that is made of quality material and is comfortable for you. For Canyon News Network, I'm Marissa Anderson.
While we need masks when going out and about, masks aren't necessary for Zoom classes and MAP. Our first week of MAP has now concluded. If you are requested to attend a MAP session, it is required as it is part of your academic day, and your parents will be notified to excuse the absence. Keep in mind, counselors will contact parents of all students earning at least 1D or F after each grading period. Our 5-week grading period ends February 5th, so work on getting your work in before then. As Ms. Holcomb mentioned earlier this week, a new student care text line has been implemented at Canyon High School. It builds upon the concept of the Text a Tip line, but will include mental health and wellness concerns. If you are struggling or know someone who is struggling, the student care text line will make intervention early as possible, allowing for small problems to be handled long before they become big problems. But remember, this is not an emergency service line. If you feel that you or someone you know is having a medical or psychiatric emergency, please contact 911. With care in mind, we finish our show today with a special feature on one of our very own Canyon teachers who had a traumatic and life-threatening emergency this past summer, only to come out stronger and more hopeful than ever.
Picture this. You or a loved one are at home with your family. Although you are perfectly healthy, you suddenly feel a strong pressure in your chest. You think nothing of it, but little do you know, you are having a heart attack. For Canyon's beloved Spanish teacher, Kelly Seidencrans, this became a reality during the summer of 2020. Now, months into recovery, we sat down with Senora Seidencrans to learn about what happened and how she's doing now.
So I was rushed to Henry Mayo initially, and I had a 4-hour surgery where they put 4 stents into my heart and tried to keep me alive. The doctor there said he did all he could do. He needed to get me to UCLA, but UCLA didn't want to take me because I wasn't stable enough. So they said it was too dangerous. Eventually they found a bed for me, and UCLA came and did a procedure on me there. They put a pump into my heart. So I ended up eventually having 2 different pumps inside of my heart to keep me alive, and was put on life support. And basically I was on life support all the way until I had a heart transplant, and then a kidney transplant as well, because my organs shut down from the trauma that I had gone through. So it was a big ordeal. And I was in the hospital for about 2.5 months and in ICU at UCLA.
While she was at UCLA, and once she returned home, Senora Seidencrans received countless letters and messages of hope and prayer.
It was overwhelming, and I cried. I'm not a crier, but I cried once I was well enough to know what was going on, and started reading the texts and started reading the emails. I probably missed some, but I would just cry every time. I just start crying and crying because it was very overwhelming and very humbling, and it really helped me get through each day, really. because each day was a challenge in the hospital.
One of Senora Seidenkranz's past students, Haley Eddy, couldn't believe the news when she heard it.
I just heard from someone else actually, and I was like totally shocked. And I was like, that cannot be true. Like, I just could not believe it because she's like such a healthy, happy, amazing person. And so I went and like looked on my own, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it was real. And I was like totally just like, what? And so my mom and I were just like, we gotta pray for her, and it was totally crazy.
Haley also tells us what she loved about the environment in her classroom.
I loved how much she loved Spanish and how much she loved the students. She'd want to make sure we had a good time, and I thought that was really cool about her. And I did have a good time because of how much effort and work she put into everything.
Senora Lewis, friend of Senora Seidenkranz and Spanish teacher here at Canyon, was shell-shocked when she heard the news of her close friend.
The health scare was just losing the most beautiful person I know here at Canyon. She is just so full of love and so full of energy. And since then, talking to her, she has affected me because, believe it or not, she is so positive and even grateful, if you can believe it, that this has happened to her. She looks at all the positive things that have come out of this, which is so strengthening for me, because here she is grateful for the people that she got to meet out of this. Here she's had a heart transplant and a kidney transplant and is so grateful for every moment of that.
We also received a deeper insight on their friendship and how the health scare has affected Senora Lewis as a teacher.
We collaborated so much, and our lessons were always the product of both our minds working together. And I miss my partner in crime, and hope she'll be back soon. But she is just wonderful, whether she is in a hospital bed, in the front seat of a car, in a classroom. She's just the sunshine wherever she is.
Luckily for Senora Lewis, the return of her friend may be just around the corner.
I can't wait to return. I probably could return now. I'm doing so well. The doctors are really surprised by how fast my recovery has been, how quick it's been. And the doctors agreed that that would be best, but definitely in the fall.
Mrs. Seidenkranz says she's learned a lot from this life-changing experience.
I think I've learned how powerful faith and hope are. Throughout this whole ordeal, so many people never gave up hope on me, never stopped praying for me. And the doctors even relayed to me how that was an essential part in my recovery, that just having that positive outlook and believing that I was going to make it was had a huge impact on my recovery.
We look forward to seeing you back in the classroom, Senora. For Canyon News Network, I'm Mayan Mawas reporting.
Well, that's all for me. For more updates, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at CHS News Network. I'm Ryan Majima, and have a great Friday, Cowboys.